How's it going, crypto community? Welcome back to part 5 of the Chris Larson and Stephen Thomas talk at Google. If you have not seen the previous parts, please go back and catch up so that you're not lost once we start into this. I did rewind the time a little bit, so if you're coming straight from part 4, you're going to see a slight talk with Stephen Thomas here as he completes basically the last sentence that he did before we ended, right? So, real quick before we start, if you're new, if you haven't been to my channel yet, please hit that subscribe. Also, be sure to go back and watch part 1 through 4 of this series so that you can have context for what we're talking about right now. So, without any further ado, let's hop right into it and listen to Stefan get back into talking about the ILP.
Primary metrics, and what that does is if someone advertises some ridiculous metrics, you're still only going to take down his immediate neighborhood, because for everyone else it's still going to look like a big detour, a very long path that they don't want to take. And so it turns out that even for money, the length of the path is actually a very good proxy for all the other things you might be interested in, like how reliable is it, what's the latency, what's the fees. Those are all lower or tend to be lower for shorter paths. And so we can do exactly what BGP does in terms of routing by shortest path first, and then using other metrics to kind of tie break if paths are the same length, picking the best one. And we just basically add fee as another metric, just like the internet has latency. I already kind of talked a little bit about the settlement. The key thing to mention here is that all we need from the settlement layer is that it can transmit money. It doesn't have to be very fast. It doesn't have to be very cheap. If it's slower, we just settle less often. And just to give you some examples of the kinds of things we've integrated with already, there's a XRP PayChain plugin, so that's settling using the XRP ledger. That's the most efficient plugin right now. That's one of the reasons that we feel good about the strategy. Is like we're actually seeing in practice that our own products score really well on these different metrics in terms of like what ledger would you actually choose for settlement. We've done a Lightning integration, so we did a little test where we actually connected the Bitcoin Lightning Network and the Litecoin Lightning Network together. If you're not familiar with Lightning, it's basically a scalability overlay network for currencies like Bitcoin. And then you could do something like ACH. You can even do cash if you want, right? So you can have a relationship with an interledger service provider where it basically says, like, I give you cash up ahead of time, or you give me cash ahead of time, and then we can exchange packets up to that amount until we reach that balance, and then we have to settle up again.
So there you have it. Obviously, if you aren't familiar with the last talk, we talked about all the layers of the interledger above the actual ledger layer, which is the XRP PayChain, or Chan, as it says PayChan here. But the idea is simple. Ripple developed this interledger technology, and they developed it around XRP, so obviously it's going to be most efficient when utilizing XRP, right? That doesn't mean that it can't use other networks, but it just means that XRP is most likely to be the network that will be chosen in almost any situation to, perform a transaction. Now, that said, Stefan did point out that this layer doesn't actually need to be fast. If it's not, then they can just package together all the different transactions and have them go through essentially in one block, as opposed to what would otherwise be multiple individual blocks, right?
Okay, now with all that prefix, I'm going to give you a bit of a live demo, and this is going to go fairly quick, so pay attention. Basically what we're going to show here is the Easy Website Maker. Okay, so Easy Website Maker is an app that somebody put together. You just uploaded it to GitHub, and basically it allows you to create a website from just having a little sketch. And now, obviously, we didn't build all the difficult parts, the AI parts. That's what you guys are for. But we did do all the payment stuff. So all the payments are actually going through Interledger. There's actual payment packets being exchanged. And we tried to visualize that a little bit later by having like a log of packets. And basically what this app does is I put in a sketch, and it goes to one vendor that's offering an API, a paid API, that can turn sketches into actual HTML. And then I'll go pay another vendor to actually package that into a Docker container and upload it somewhere. And then another vendor to host the actual live website. And then another vendor to buy a domain. And finally, we'll tip the developer. So I'll go show you what that looks like. So first thing I need to do is I need to pick my sketch. So I'm just going to grab one here. And so this is the sketch of my website. It's probably a little bit small to see, but it has like some text, and it has a little chart, and it has some more text. And just to be clear again, like the AI is mocked out. We didn't actually create the AI just for the demo. That would be ridiculous. But yeah, in the future, this could very well be possible. So now I'm going to say make my site. And now things are going to happen very quickly. So it's going to upload that sketch to that AI. It's already done. And now it's uploaded the finished HTML that it got back to a service that turns it into the Docker container. And as you could see on the right, and I might do the demo twice just so you can see it again, on the right, you saw the total amount paid. This is in XRP drops, so this would be 1/1,000,000th of an XRP. So total paid would be 0.1 XRP, which is about, what is that, like 2 cents, 3 cents? Sorry, $3. No,
20 cents.
Sorry.
20 cents.
It's like, yeah, it's like 30 cents or something, whatever. So you can see like the individual packets, and there's a couple things going on.
Don't you miss the days when XRP, 1.1 XRP was worth how much 1 XRP is basically worth now? Ah, the days. The good old days. Don't worry. They'll be back. Sorry. I had to put in my 2 cents because I was like, wait, when was this filmed again? Oh yeah, this was in February of last year. That's right. You know, shortly after XRP had actually hit its peak.
And I think I will run through the demo again just so you can see. So first, when we paid that AI, we paid a sort of one lump sum amount. And then the packager is actually a streaming paid endpoint. So that's a paid endpoint where as we send it data and we ask it to do things, we'll stream packets to it to keep it paid. And if we ever don't keep up, it'll like stop working until we pay it more. And then we deployed it to a host, bought a domain, and then sent a tip to the developer. And I can actually click this button here and then look over here. And as you can see, our website is now up. And I can actually show you it's like all of this is running locally, but we got a domain, et cetera. It's like set it up. So let's go through the demo one more time just so you can see kind of the streaming payments part a little bit better. So I'll pick the same website. So here on the right, you can see like the total paid right now is 500 drops. That's to pay for the AI. Now we're streaming to pay for the packager. So this is going in 250 drop intervals. And then we have a larger expense to host the website, 9,000 drops. It's over 9,000 to actually buy the domain. And then finally, we tip the developer 1,000 drops. And so if I make an app like that, I have a built-in business model. And I think that's really the key point to get across here is I think this will have a huge impact on the web, where think about if I start a convenience store, I don't need to think about what my business model is. My business model is people pay me when they come buy things. When I open a restaurant, I don't think about my business model. My business model is people pay for the food that they eat. On the internet, we have this weird thing where like there isn't a good way to charge people for using your website. And so we build advertising, we build subscriptions, and all kinds of hacky workarounds for like how to get money out of people just from visiting your website. And I think this will present a pretty efficient alternative in the future where people can just pay you for using your site. So that's it.
Pretty cool, right? I mean, obviously, as Stefan broke down, that was just a test kit basically to show Google basically what, you know, Chris Larson and the rest of the team at Ripple were working on back last year in regards to how their technologies can be utilized, right? Really awesome. But ultimately, this part is really just a tech overview. Hopefully, everything that he was talking about, you know, at least made sense, that you were able to follow with it. I don't really know how to really go into too much more detail about what he was talking about because most of it he was actually showing you examples, so I feel that that is probably about as good as it can get, right? But, you know, again, ultimately all it was is what I just summarized is that, you know, this is just one of many possible utility paths that you could go down with the Ripple XRP blockchain ecosystem, you know, the Interledger ecosystem, to really enable a more fungible internet experience. You know, it's really similar to how Brave browser's now paying for ads via BAT. You know, you get paid BAT to have advertisements sent to you. Before, the website you went to would get paid for it. Now, if you use BAT or Brave web browser and you enable BAT rewards, you get paid for the ads that website would have got paid for now, right? And so the idea is going forward that once these systems are in place so that people are being paid by their browser for their attention, then that means that they become the one in charge of the money that gets doled out to the websites that they support, right? As opposed to somebody just supporting a website simply by clicking on it and being like, oh, cool, there's 50 ads. They just made like 10 cents off me, or however much, you know. So, great talk. I'm looking forward to breaking down the rest of these. Again, this one's a lot more technical and mostly just like overlay, kind of like part 4. So, not a whole lot more for me to break down with it. So, with that, I'll cut this one short, and I will see all of you back for part 5, right? So, as always, I've been Jade. You've been watching The Martian Report. If you're new, please be sure to hit that subscribe. Be sure to smash that like as well, and so that you're up to date when part 5 launches, ring that bell, right? So, all that said, once again, I've been Jade. You've been watching The Martian Report, and I can't wait to see all you, my XRP Martians, in my next video on Mars.